on to the lower limb. The lower limb is anchored to the axial region by the pelvis, just like the upper limbs anchored to the axial region from the pectoral girdle. We call the pelvis the pelvic girdle, and it's made up of 4 bones. The bone that you see in front of you is the os coxa, and we have 2 of them on either side that come together with the sacrum and the coccyx to make up the pelvis. Now, the os coxa is actually 3 separate bones that have fused into this one. So if I put a pointer here and said ID bone, be specific, you would say ilium. And the ilium is what you feel when you put your hands on your hips. The more inferior bone here is the ischium or ischium. This is what you sit on. This is your butt bone. And then anteriorly, this is the pubis. So to translate that here, we have the ilium on either side, the ischium or ischium down here, and then the pubis on either side here. Now, focusing on the ilium and its features, this right here is the iliac crest. It's a prominent ridge that you feel when you put your hands on your hip. Medially, it has an ear-shaped rough surface called the auricular surface, and this is where the sacrum and the ilium come together. We also see here a low ridge called a line, specifically an arcuate line. So this is all medial on the os coxa, specifically the ilium. Now, the iliac crest here will come to a point known as a spine. We have 2 spines here and 2 spines here. These 2 spines are anterior, so they're called the anterior superior iliac spine, and this one below is the anterior inferior iliac spine. Since the auricular surface articulates with the sacrum and the sacrum is posterior, I know that this spine then is the superior posterior iliac spine, posterior superior iliac spine, and this one is the posterior inferior iliac spine. Just below the posterior inferior iliac spine, I have a notch here for a nerve called the sciatic nerve. Therefore, this notch is known as the greater sciatic notch. Moving on to the ischium here. The ischium has a couple of features. This bony projection is known as the ischial spine. Below that, we have the lesser sciatic notch. And then this rough area that you see here is the ischial tuberosity. Again, tuberosity means large rough area. And then we have a ramus here that leads to the pubis, but this bottom ramus is divided in half. The part closer to the ischium is known as the ramus of the ischium, and the part that belongs to the pubis is known as the inferior pubic ramus. So again, ramus of the ischium is this half, and inferior pubic ramus is this half. Speaking of the pubis, this ramus here is known as the superior pubic ramus. So for the pubis, you just need to be able to identify the bone and the superior and inferior pubic ramus. Now these 3 bones will come together and form what's called the acetabulum. And this is where the femur will articulate with the os coxa, like so. We can also see another feature here, a big hole called the obturator foramen. So knowing that the auricular surface and greater sciatic notch should always face posteriorly, and that the arcuate line is medial, or another way you can look at it is the acetabulum is lateral, so the lower limb can come out. If this was a superior view of the os coxa, we'd be able to tell that this was a right one.